Adam Schefter. Thanks to Death Wish Coffee with Armen and Levack. 104.5. The team joins us every Monday at 4:45 through the NFL season. We could not be more excited to have him. And Adam, just want to lead with this. Last week, you broke the news on JPP and his right index finger being amputated. A lot of talk on you sending out the medical records. Just your thought process on feeling like that was needed and that you needed to do that and to break it in the way that you did that we've all been talking about for the last week, Shefty.
Yeah, well, it was a situation here where basically this story came about, and I made the decision that he was a public figure, that this was newsworthy, and I was going to go ahead and post it. And I'll say that the reaction has really surprised me, and I understand people's objections and feelings, and I see why they do feel the way they do, but I come back to this, that this was not some sensitive case. I mean, it is a sensitive case. It's a horrific injury, and you feel bad for the guy. You really do. I mean, it's a horrible thing that he and C.J. Wilson from Tampa had to go through it. But he didn't go to the hospital, as we've seen with other players, to be treated for some sort of disease, illness that was secret. I think everybody knew that he was involved in a public fireworks incident where he'd been posting pictures on Twitter about fireworks, and it was a decision where not even his own team could figure out what was going on. It was great mystery. And in a day and age, a digital age, where pictures and videos tell stories, where people question sources, I made the decision to go with the story. And I still think it was the right decision. It was not an easy decision. And obviously there are a lot of people that disagree with it. I understand their side. But again, my job was to go after that. And there are a lot of people who still think that was the wrong decision.
Shefty, this thing has been so secretive. At this point, we're hearing reports that JPP decided to go with the amputation of the finger so he could potentially be back on the field in 2 months. Is that realistic from what you're hearing?
Again, I know that we don't know the full extent of the injuries. I think they're pretty severe. I think the fractured thumb is another issue. The skin grafts that are taking place, obviously, you're going to be saying to come back from. I think there's a whole host of things. He needs to get used to living and playing without an index finger. And that's not a simple task. And so he's got to retrain himself. And again, you hope he can do it. You hope it works out. Again, it's just a terrible thing. It's very unfortunate that anybody goes through this, anything like this. And I think it's hard for anybody to impact exactly how it's going to change the way one person performs going forward, because we don't know right now. We just don't know. Right. We have to know the full extent of the injuries, and we don't know that just yet.
ESPN's Adam Schefter, thanks to Death Wish Coffee. Adam, you mentioned the fractured thumb. I mean, the fractured thumb is a big deal by itself.
I'm sorry. I'm walking through a train station here. Okay, I'm sorry. Repeat that one more time.
No, that's all right. You mentioned the fractured thumb. I mean, that's a big deal by itself.
Yeah, no, there's no question. Listen, everything about this, is an unfortunate big deal. And so I think, there are a lot of injuries here. It goes beyond just that. And so you just have to see exactly how he responds, and we don't know how he'll respond, and hopefully he can come back from it.
Adam, moving on to the Bills, their offensive line coach, Aaron Cromer, is in the news. Allegedly assaulted a young man during a fishing pole chair argument. What do we know about this so far?
Well, I think the police posted the report yesterday. And, again, this was an incident where he essentially got into an argument with some young boys and allegedly hit one of them. And they turned him to police and accused him of saying that if he told anyone, he threatened to kill them. So, usually in July, teams have to worry about their players. Rarely do they have to worry about assistant coaches. In this particular case, this is an unusual case. It's not too often that we've seen an assistant coach get in trouble, but that's what happened here. And I would think that the Buffalo Bills will they'll take some sort of action. The question is how severe and how dramatic, and I think first they want to look into the charges and find out how much truth there is to them. And once they figure out what the situation is, they can determine what the best course of action is. But I think it's fair to say that there's a real chance here that Aaron Kromer is going to get disciplined from the team, if not the league.
ESPN's Adam Schefter, thanks to Death Wish Coffee. And Adam, let's talk about something a little more exciting, because Des Bryant on Twitter is always exciting. And today tweeting out that he's not going to play if that contract's not done. #fact. Adam, is that really a fact? Should we really believe that Des Bryant won't play?
No, I believe he's speaking the truth there. Now, the question is, how long is he not going to play? And that really remains the question here, because it's a situation here where basically he's not happy to have the franchise tag. Now, the worst thing that happens is he plays 2 years of the franchise tag and he makes $28 million. Or you play with the risk of injury, and that's something that no player wants to go through when they can get the big money up front. That's what he wants right now. But if he does not get the contract he wants, and they have until Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern to try to work out a long-term contract extension, if they can't do it by Wednesday, 4 o'clock, then he cannot get a long-term deal this year. I mean, I don't think we'll see Des Bryant at training camp. I'd be really surprised if we saw him at training camp. I'd be shocked if you saw him report before any preseason games were over. And then he'll have to make a decision. If you prorate the franchise wide receiver number is $12.8 million divided by 17, that would be his weekly paycheck. So is he willing to forfeit 17 or $12.8 million divided by 17, whatever that? Let's call that number right now, for argument's sake, $750,000. I don't know what the number is. You'd have a situation where he'd be forfeiting that game check each week, and he's going to have to make that decision about whether he wants to do that. The weekly paychecks would be $752,941,000, $752,941. So I wasn't far off in my math. So for each week he wouldn't play, he would lose out on $752,000. So you tell me, is he willing to miss week 1 and $752, or is he going to try to make a point? Now, again, you don't miss out on anything by missing training camp and the preseason games. You miss out on nothing. So that becomes a no-brainer. Like, if there's no long-term deal by Wednesday, I don't think we see Des Bryant till late August at the earliest. But then he's got to make a decision from there, and that's where it will get interesting.
So, Schefter, it doesn't look like there's much opportunity for them to actually get this deal done by Wednesday?
Well, we don't know. I mean, deadlines spur action, and they've been stuck in a point where there's not been any signs that they get it done. But, I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've seen a situation where, at the 11th hour, something gets done, and two sides reach an agreement. But as of right now, they're not close to that agreement to where he feels like they're going to get something done. But, again, 48 hours more. Let's see what happens.
ESPN's Adam Schefter with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, every Monday at 4:45. Schefty, in regards to the Broncos and Cowboys colluding in the NFLPA, wanting to move forward in an investigation into that, should we believe that those two teams colluded regarding the Dez and Demaryius Thomas contracts?
Well, the Cowboys say they haven't. The Broncos say they haven't. Neither side says they've been contacted. The NFLPA, I believe, believes it has evidence to prove that it did, and we'll see what comes of it. Again, I didn't expect the Cowboys or the Broncos to come out on Friday once the NFLPA charged that they had some evidence of collusion to say, oh, yes, we spoke 2 weeks ago and they got us. I mean, they weren't going to say that. That wasn't going to be the case. But it was a situation here where, again, the NFLPA believes that something happened that shouldn't have, and the teams have said that they done nothing wrong, and they've not been contacted, and we'll find out over time who's right and who's wrong.
How bad could this be for the teams if it is proved?
Oh, there's a lot that has to be proved, and I've seen a lot of investigations over time, and not very many of them have gone anywhere. But, again, collusion is a very serious word, and we'll have to see what evidence the NFLPA brings forward and have to see how it pursues those claims.
ESPN's Adam Schefter, thanks to Death Wish Coffee. All right, Schefty, last week you gave us the details on the Bills quarterback race, and as we know it right now, we have that featured right now, 1045theteam.com, Schefter's Insight.
I got a question before you go any further. I just get an idea. In Albany, Are more people Giants fans, Bills fans? Like, what is the fan base there? How is that divided?
Giants fans you see more often, and then Jets number 2. And I would say 3 Buffalo, but I'll tell you this. They are loud and proud of their Bills, man. You better get out of the way.
Yeah. No, Bills fans are serious. I mean, that I know. I mean, they're real, and they're serious about their football team. So I just was wondering, getting an idea of your location, not knowing the answer to that, but that's good to know. Okay.
And I would tell you that we, on this station, everybody's equal to us. I mean, because, New York sports and football is what we're all about. So all 3 of those teams fall in that category. So, we love them all equally. But we didn't ask about the Jazz quarterback situation with Geno Smith. This guy is the starter according to the coaching staff now?
Well, right now he is. It's a situation where basically they have said he's a starter going into camp. They have shown some improvement. They're excited about the way that he's looked. And look, it's in their best interest to have him play well. That's what they want to have happen. But they need him to play well. And I think there are some encouraging signs. There are some people I've spoken with that have spent some time with Geno this offseason. They said he's a different guy, that a light has gone off, and he really has looked like a very effective quarterback. But that's only going to be proven over time. We'll have to see how that works out. And, again, I happen to think that he's got a chance to be pretty good this year under Shane Gailey, their new offensive coordinator. But he still has to win over their undivided support over the course of a full season before we can say he's the guy. But he's got the chance to be. He goes in as the favorite. He'll be the starting guy, and we'll have to see what happens.
Adam, what do you think went into the NFL reducing Greg Hardy's suspension from 10 to 4 games, and will that have any fallout on the Brady decision?
Well, I think that they looked it over and they applied the conduct to what it was and the penalties to what it was before the personal conduct policy was changed. And so they went back and applied it, and they lowered it to the 4 games. Now, the thing to remember here is that Greg Hardy and his attorneys are still considering filing a suit against the NFL in court, get it lowered to 2 games because they believe they have the grounds to get it lowered from 4 to 2. Now, we'll see if that winds up happening. If they file that suit as of this afternoon, they had not made a decision about a course of action to take, but that's certainly still possible. But Harold Henderson, the arbitrator in this case, believed that there was enough evidence to have it lowered from 10 to 4.
ESPN's Adam Schefter with Armen and Levack every Monday at 4:45. And in Brady's decision, will we get an answer on that soon, Adam?
Well, it depends on what you consider soon. It took them over 6 weeks to turn in a Greg Hardy decision.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, it's only been, since June 23rd was the Brady appeal, so we've got about 3 weeks tomorrow. And I've always felt that the decision would come end of July. That was always my sense. So we'll see how that comes out. But again, I would look for something end of July, early August from the NFL.
ESPN's Adam Schefter at Adam Schefter on Twitter. Shefty, we enjoyed it, man. Talk to you next Monday at 4:45.
Armen and Levack, thanks for having me. We'll talk next Monday. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, Shefty.
There he goes, Adam Schefter. Thanks to Death Wish Coffee. And right now, to my left, I have a coffee mug that is filled with Death Wish coffee. Levack, to your right, you have a coffee mug. I'm going to ask you this. That better be nothing alcohol related. Beyond that, what is in there?
Just Death Wish and a little bit of sweetener, man. I don't even put milk in it, bro. I'm ready. Let's do this.
You know why, man? Death Wish coffee keeps us going. We love it because, number 1, it's the world's strongest coffee. Number 2, it's right here locally, man.
Yep.
Right here locally is where it comes from. Right out of Round Lake. They roast it, package it, distribute it, support local. And most importantly, go to deathwishcoffee.com, type in discount code ESPN, and you can save 10% right now. Deathwishcoffee.com.